I'm at a loss for what to do. My boyfriend of 3 years found out that I was sleeping with a friend of mine about 2 months ago. I hooked up with him twice and I regret ever cheating on my boyfriend. It was the biggest mistake I have ever made, and I will absolutely never do anything like that ever again. My boyfriend found our texts when going through my phone, and we had a huge falling out. I've been staying with my parents ever since, and we haven't spoken much other than over the phone. And he seemed so cold even those few times. Last night, my single friend phoned me and told me that she had found my boyfriend while swiping through Tinder and has swiped right just to see what he would do. Well, later that night, he swiped right on her too, which means he's actively using the app and interested in my friend. Obviously, this broke my heart. She told me that he hadn't reached out to her and that she had even messaged him, but he didn't respond. I phoned him to confront him about it, and he acted like he was surprised that I was upset about it. He said that he hadn't even sent her any messages and then brought up my infidelity. I consider using a dating app while having a significant other to be cheating. We ended up arguing, and we both said some very hurtful things. I asked him if he would have gone on a date with my friend if she had asked him. He was quiet for a second, like he was thinking about it, and then said maybe. I was so mad that I hung up on him without saying a word, because I knew I was going to lose it on him if I said anything. I have put so much work into this relationship, and am ready to do everything I can to atone for my cheating. I go to a therapist every week. I've apologized hundreds of times. I've given him space. I was even the one to move out of the apartment when he said that he didn't want to live with me anymore. I don't know what more I can do. I've tried everything I can to fix this relationship, and he knows this. I feel like I'm the one being cheated on now. I really don't know what the next step is after finding this out. I'm still willing to forgive him and work on our relationship, I just don't know how. If anyone has been in a similar situation, how did you fix it? Is there any fixing this? Edit. Yes, he does need forgiving too. Remember, he put himself on a dating app while still with me. That's wrong. Update. He called me yesterday to tell me that he is considering seeing other people. I begged him not to and told him that I haven't seen anyone since my affair. He didn't seem to care at all. He hasn't outright said that he's breaking up with me, but it really feels like this is it. Should I just give up? Some of you gave me helpful advice on my first post, although some comments were harsher than they needed to be. I understand that I cheated first, and I accept full responsibility. But I do still blame him for tagging me along and giving me hopes and then doing this. I really feel like he's just given up on me, which makes me want to give up on him. If he does go out with someone else, should I take that as a sign that he is no longer willing to work on our relationship? It feels wrong to just give up like that. I have such conflicting feelings of guilt and betrayal. I had some comments telling me that he was just doing what I did first, and I know that, but two wrongs don't make a right. I have an appointment with my therapist tomorrow, which I hope will help. I'm almost ready to give up on this relationship, which breaks my heart because it really was perfect. I wish I had never cheated, and I wish he had never downloaded that stupid app. Thank you all for your advice. I will continue to try to fix this relationship for as long as he lets me. Now for some comments. From the outside looking in, it seems like your relationship has suffered significant damage on both sides. You cheated, and now he's using dating apps, possibly as a way to cope or retaliate. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and once it's broken, it can be extremely hard to rebuild. You've made efforts to atone for your mistake, which is a good start, but it sounds like your boyfriend is still deeply hurt and maybe even seeking validation or revenge through dating apps. It might be worth considering whether this relationship is still healthy for either of you. Sometimes the best way to heal is to let go and move on, even if it's incredibly painful. Good luck with your therapy sessions. If he's considering seeing other people, it might be a sign that he's not ready or willing to work on your relationship. It could be helpful to have a serious, honest conversation about where you both see this going and if you can realistically rebuild trust. Sometimes when trust is broken, it's incredibly hard to mend things, no matter how much effort you put in. If he does decide to see other people, it might be best for you to take that as a sign to move on and focus on healing yourself. Continuing to try to fix something that the other person isn't willing to work on can be emotionally exhausting and may not lead to the resolution you're hoping for. Story 2. So a little backstory. My 34M wife, 31F, and I have been together for 5 years and married for 3. The past 2 years have been pretty stressful for her and me as she was finishing up a master's in a really competitive program. The last year of the program was last year and it really pushed her hard. During that time, our time in the bedroom dwindled away to nothing as she was always either studying or in class. She finished the master's June of last year. I was expecting that things would pick up in the bedroom again after it was over, but it hasn't. She still turned me down all the time, stressing about finding a job. It's to the point where the last time we had sex was April of 2018. Every time I tried initiating or doing a date night or being romantic, it always ends up with her being too tired. I even told her I'd settle for dirty talk every once in a while, but she didn't feel like doing that either. I suggested we go to counseling. She said she would find a counselor she liked. I waited, asked again. She called me selfish. I gave up. I lost my mind for the first couple of months, and then I decided to just focus on myself and start working out and keep doing my own thing. Before the lack of sex thing, we had a pretty good relationship, but now it's gotten to be more like roommates than husband, wife. Fast forward to this past weekend. We went out to watch the Super Bowl with another couple who are good friends of ours. While we were at the sports bar, we met and started hanging out with a random group of people also watching the game. A very attractive woman who was part of that group kept winding up next to me and making small talk with me and looking at me in a way that was obviously flirting. I kept it clean, but definitely kept up the banter. When the girl went out the bathroom, my wife pulled me over and said, in front of our couple friends, something to the effect of, "It's obvious that girl is into you. I don't want you talking to her." Something about the way she said it to me triggered something, and I just came back with something like, "I'm just happy to have some attention, baby. It's been a long time. Almost a year now." She looked shocked, then angry, then angrier. Our friends just turned around and started watching the game again, and right then the other girl came back and introduced herself to my wife. My wife walked away, and the wife of our friend followed her. We left the bar soon after and shared an Uber back with the other couple. We got into a fight, we never fight, about her lack of interest in going to counseling, and she told me that she thought I was selfish and not understanding. We haven't talked much since. I don't want to end my marriage, but I don't see any compromise in her at all. Before I start divorce, I want to know if there is anything we can do to save things. Thanks. Update. That Saturday after my original post, I tried again to talk to her about what I felt was missing in our relationship. This did not go well. The next Saturday, I went out and rented an apartment with a lease starting March 1st. I went back home and told her I would be moving out. I said I did not know what was going on with her, and since she did not want to do anything about it, I wanted a divorce. I loved her, but I couldn't live like a hostage anymore. She got really quiet and then started sobbing and telling me that I was cruel and selfish, and that my focus on sex was the issue, and that I should go to counseling for that. Again, I was hoping that she would have said something else, but since she didn't, I just started packing a few things for work. She asked me where I was going and told her I would be staying at my parents' for the next few weeks until my lease started. As soon as I told her I would be staying at my parents', she got really quiet and asked me if I'd told my parents yet. Sirens started going off in my head immediately. I said that I had not. This was a lie. Then she got quiet for about 5 minutes, and right when I was about to walk out the door, she asked me not to leave. She wanted to talk, and then she told me something I didn't want to hear. She cheated on me with a guy in her class last year and got an STD. Nothing fatal, but not the kind you can get rid of. She told me that it only happened one time, but I am sure that is not true. I was numb. One of my female friends told me that wife cheating was a possibility, but I didn't believe it. I didn't say anything while wife talked, mostly because my mind was reeling, but also because I didn't really have anything to say. I realize now that I had said everything I had to say over the course of the previous year, and now I had nothing. After she finished talking, I just told her okay. I was numb, and I left the house with her in it and went to my parents' house about 2 hours away. I told her I would be back, but have not been back to the house or seen her since. I got to my parents' house and told them everything. They told me they could tell something was wrong for a few months and that they were sorry. I had planned to go back to the house, but my mother told me that if I was moving forward with divorce, that I should not go. So my mother and father went and got a few personal items for me. Everything else I left. I also contacted a lawyer and told him to contact wife to start the divorce. Wife has called me on cell and at work a few times and even emailed me, but I didn't read it. She also had one of her friends call me and tell me to please talk to my wife and that she is very sorry. But as soon as I realized it was a friend of hers, I hung up. I have 2 weeks off coming up in April, and I plan to go to Vegas with a buddy. My parents and friends have been very supportive, and I honestly feel better than I have felt in a long time. I never thought I would get divorced, and that first week I felt like a failure because I knew my marriage was over. But my father told me something that I have said to myself over and over. Someone else doing the wrong thing makes them the failure, not you. I hung out this weekend with a girl from my job who I've always gotten along with. She saw me at work last week without my ring and asked me what happened. I told her that my wife and I were divorcing. She gave me a hug in the office, and that hug felt like the best thing in the world. After work this weekend, we went out for a few drinks and just hung out and had fun and ended up back at my place. I'm not ready for, nor do I want a relationship, obviously. But it felt so good to be in a bed with a woman where it felt so relaxed and accepting. I felt completely at ease. I know the divorce is going to be tough, but this weekend, even after all that's happened, I feel like it will be worth it. Final update. Last update for the people who messaged me and wanted to know how things were going with the divorce. I'll answer all questions here. Have I talked to wife or seen her since I left the house? I haven't communicated or seen soon-to-be ex at all since I moved out. For the first few weeks, she tried calling me, but I'd stopped answering any unknown numbers. She left me 2 crying messages, but soon after the lawyers got involved, those stopped. Is the divorce going smoothly? Through lawyer, I offered spousal support amount he suggested in lump sum. She could have everything in the house. I tried to make it as simple as possible and keep the conversation to a minimum. About a month or so after starting, I found out that she has been telling her friends that I had been emotionally abusive to her, that I kept pressuring her to do sexual things that she didn't want to do, that I wasn't supportive of her pursuing a graduate degree. All of this is a lie, of course, and I almost called her to tell her back, to tell her to quit her bull. This is the one point where I can say that I felt anger. But thankfully, my parents and friends just told me to let the lawyer handle it and not let her get me to call her and not to lose my cool for even 1 second until the divorce was done. Also, through mutual friends, I found out that she has a dating profile on dating app and is dating. Lawyer tells me this is a good thing, and I tend to agree. There is a lot of information lawyers ask about. It's surreal to have someone you hardly know asking you very specific details about your sex life, finances, and other very, very personal things. Overall, this part of the process has been the hardest for me and has left me drained. But on the plus side, the lawyer thinks this will be done in a few weeks, so I will finally be free. Did I tell my friends that she cheated? Yes, and that she got an STI, and that we hadn't had sex in a year. I had to explain why I just up and left. I was very candid. I'm not going to carry any shame for her. How much is divorce costing? I can't say exactly. Between $100K, $150K for one-time buyout. I'm glad to see you're feeling better. It's good news that you're moving on from your marriage and finding freedom from this cheater. However, it's important for you to avoid falling deeper down the rabbit hole of hating women that you seem to be starting to explore. While it's unfortunate that the woman you were with was terrible, and many others are too, there's also so many wonderful women out there. People, regardless of gender, can be incredibly disappointing, but they can also be wonderful. It's okay to feel disappointed, but do not give up the hope of finding a truly caring and faithful partner. Because guess what? They do exist. I hope you find happiness in your life moving forward.